Do. This is Nick, and
Salud.
coming at you from NXT LVL Jiu-Jitsu. Today we're talking about ADCC championships that just happened a couple of weeks ago, some UFC Fight Night that's coming up this weekend, some MMA news and rumors, and lastly we're going to be covering the BMF title. So let's get right into it. ADCC championships that just happened. Gordon Ryan, the big winner. No huge surprise there, but was it Nick Rodriguez out of nowhere as a blue belt coming in, destroying some legends, Muhammad Ali, Cyborg.
Yeah, that just put wrestling back in the game. Him performing as well as he did. All the wrestlers came out after that, and they're like, "What jiu-jitsu? What are you talking about?" With just a few years of wrestling experience, and he had like 2 or 3 years of jiu-jitsu experience.
Yeah, he's only been in the jiu-jitsu game for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then, at first, everybody was hyping him up, like, "Oh man, he's like such an elite level wrestler." And then Gordon Ryan came out and was like, "Actually, he's like a Division III wrestler."
Yeah.
So apparently, Division III wrestling is good enough to basically beat black belt level jiu-jitsu, maybe. But he's also pretty jacked and tan, which helps.
Man. That was very impressive. I don't know if you saw, but at the end of it, he was handed his purple belt as well, which was very well deserved.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel any better about my jiu-jitsu game, knowing that guy who just now got his purple belt could easily destroy me in about 10 seconds.
You and me both, my friend.
But yeah, I do agree with you. I think the wrestlers are going to start to come out of the woodwork now.
Yeah.
Like all those guys that aren't making the Olympic team or whatever, those collegiate wrestlers who don't quite know what their next step is going to be, they're going to look at it and say, "Hey, we got this avenue. We can make a lot of money doing grappling, doing what I'm good at, doing what I've been good at my whole life."
Yeah, that's the thing. Like wrestling is like so big in the grappling world. If you have wrestling in your arsenal, you're good to go, man. If you think about it, all the past UFC champions were wrestlers, right? Or even the current ones, like John Jones is a wrestler, I believe. DC was a wrestler.
Yep.
Stipe is a wrestler. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think people will start looking at it again as important as jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, whenever I go up against a wrestler, I'm always like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Because
I know what you mean.
yeah, they're on another level, man. And props to them. It just means that we got to get more into that. Right?
Everybody else has to step their game up.
Yeah.
Well, coming out of the ADCs, also Andre Galvao wins a super fight again for however many times in a row now that he won that. So I think total he has 6 ADCC titles, which is the most out of anybody. But now the talking between him and Gordon Ryan has already spun back up of who's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Obviously Gordon Ryan wins this time, but Galvao's basically saying like, "Whoa, slow your roll. Not only did I win years ago, but I've defended the super fight repeatedly." So
they have it scheduled for the next ADCC, I believe, but who knows if that's gonna happen. Not holding my breath on that one, but I would definitely love to see it. So speaking about Gordon Ryan, he still hasn't broken the record though, right? Whose was it? Roger Gracie's record?
Yeah, Roger Gracie had what they considered the perfect performance there, which
8 submissions.
8 for 8. So he had 8 matches, 8 submissions. Gordon Ryan's he did 8 matches, 6 submissions. So still phenomenal. Still literally the best in the world.
He is the GOAT, man.
But yeah, nobody has been able to do the repeat performance of Roger Gracie having that kind of perfect day. All the stars aligned.
Well, maybe on the next one. Who knows? But Gordon is a beast, man. That whole team, that whole Donner Death Squad.
Yeah.
Bro, they're on another level when it comes to jiu-jitsu.
I agree. I've been listening to a lot of Danaher lately talk about kind of why his team is on another level, like his insistency on everybody learning the concepts of it and how he's just trying to embed it in their heads so that when they're in that situation, they just react There's no thought into it. They just go. They know exactly what they're doing.
Have you ever watched any of his instructionals?
I have.
Yeah.
His voice is like
It's very
oddly
calming.
soothing.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of
It
puts
is.
you to sleep a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, jiu-jitsu.
I haven't watched any of the instructionals, but I know people that have, and they swear by it. Like, even though like I've never been one to like learn from watching a video. It's always been more of an application kind of thing. But I think I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah, man.
Probably get that back take instructional.
Yeah, I think the results of his team speak for themselves, and
Yeah.
like whether or not that's just the fact that he's lucked his way into like incredible talent on the team, but also obviously, it stems from the coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that wraps up our ADCC discussion. Let's move on to the next topic. Yeah, moving on to some MMA news that's been out there. Want to get into that?
Dude, there's the MMA world is crazy right now. There's so much news. There, you got UFC, you got Bellator, you got all these different promotions out in Japan. It's crazy. But the latest thing, which is like something I'm finding very interesting, is that whole John Jones versus last Stylebender kind of talk. They're getting onto this little rivalry. It's funny because it's kind of moving on from the whole Jones versus DC rivalry, and now Jones is talking smack about Stylebender and his performance. Stylebender is thinking about moving up a weight class to try and fight Jones. I wonder how that's gonna go.
Yeah, I think the UFC is pretty good at taking advantage of like when two fighters start talking trash to each other. They're usually pretty good about like kind of they play it out, see like does the public seem interested in this?
Yeah.
If yes, they kind of sign a deal. And I think right now there really is nobody for John Jones.
Yeah.
I mean that guy has cleared out that division, so maybe Stylebender could be the next guy.
Might have heard something with was it Chris Weidman or something? I don't know if how accurate that is, but I might have heard something like that. I mean, he's been on this winning streak. He's fought 3 times this year so far since his comeback. He's a beast, man. But Stylebender, dude, I really enjoyed watching him fight. Like whenever I watch this guy fighting, it's just like it feels like it's something from Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. It's like watching a video game with this guy.
Yeah, like did you see his entrance coming into this last fight?
Yeah.
Bro, like that show he put on, it's unbelievable. I mean, and well deserved, right? I mean, he's got every right to do it because his performance speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean he's a good showman, but there's definitely with Jones, it's like, I mean that guy has annihilated everybody put in front of him. So, I mean if I had to see this fight play out right now, I personally don't give Stylebender much of a chance. I think the Vegas odds are like 5.5 to 1 right now.
Yeah.
Just if the fight were to happen, but
so it just means that like Stylebender definitely needs to put on more weight, like a lot more weight, and they're the same height, so there's no much difference when it comes to like reach. So I would definitely watch that fight.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Jones has that like incredible wingspan on him, but yeah, Jones is a big light heavyweight, so it would be a big middleweight stepping up to face a very big light heavyweight. I think John Jones could easily step up to heavyweight and honestly probably win the title or at least be one of the top contenders.
I'd watch that. Stipe versus John Jones.
Yeah.
I'd totally watch that. Heard I believe like there are some talks between Stylebender having to go against Paulo Costa next before anything can even happen, which would make more sense.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have somebody who's relatively new in the division, especially he just unified the title.
Yeah.
So he is new in the division, so it's a little early to be stepping up and challenging the GOAT.
Yeah.
You know, maybe do some damage in your own division first, and then you can see what you can do in the next one. But yeah, what else is happening out there?
Believe there was some news about some more things stirring up with Conor McGregor and Khabib. Something about I think they asked in an interview asking Khabib if he were to shake Conor McGregor's hand again, or to kind of end that rivalry, but I don't think he went for it.
Yeah, I saw
He's not having any of it.
I saw that. Khabib said basically like, hey, everybody does make mistakes, everybody deserves forgiveness, and he's like, but Conor just punched the 70-year-old dude in the face because he literally didn't like Conor's whiskey brand.
Yeah.
So I think Khabib's saying like, hey, maybe he's got a little more maturing to do before
he can do that.
Before he can really shake his hand and say he's a good person. But from the UFC standpoint, I still think that's the fight to make. I think Khabib versus Conor, I believe, was like their best-selling fight ever. So why not?
I think before that happens, we have to see Khabib versus Ferguson. That fight has to happen, because if it's anybody that will stop Khabib, it will be Tony Ferguson. Just because of how crazy that dude is, man. That guy's on another level when it comes to like fighting. He just keeps pushing on and on and on. He will not back out. So that's the fight I really want to see next.
Yeah, I think with Khabib, like one of the things with Khabib that was like everybody who he has fought, it's been just like this brutal one-sided beating.
Yeah,
that guy
you saw the Dustin Poirier fight. I mean, that was like at one point we thought he was gonna get him with that guillotine, but the way that Khabib just wiggled out of it, that was crazy.
Yeah.
That was just like, and you can see it in Dustin's eye when he got out of it. That guy just lost all hope. He just gave up. He's like, I can't. Like at one point, I think he went back to his corner. He's like, I can't get this guy off of me. And he you can tell that.
I remember that. That was like
he lost all hope. He just that's it.
I think that's what Khabib does to everybody.
He just breaks you.
Yeah, he breaks people. But I heard a rumor before that he was like former special forces or something like that. I don't know if that was true, but there was basically a rumor that Khabib has actually killed somebody in his life, and I think there's something to that.
They can't believe that.
Somebody who's like actually killed somebody. Like there's just a different mental switch for him of like, God literally killed people. What is this fight with you?
It kind of goes back to that first point we were trying to make with the wrestlers, right? I mean, Khabib was a wrestler. I mean, once that guy gets on top of you, it's a one-sided, smashing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. When the grappler gets a hold of the striker,
It's
there ends the fight.
He should work on his striking, I believe, a little bit more. He might ignore it a little because he knows he has the grappling, but I think he can stand to get a little bit better when it comes to the striking game.
Yeah, if nothing else, at least have that GSP kind of style, that shoot box thing where it's like you can transition from a strike to the takedown so that nobody can really stop your takedown because they don't know when it's coming.
Well, what do you think about a fight with Tony Ferguson? What would you speculate there?
Yeah, I personally see that as a one-sided pounding with
From
with
Khabib.
Khabib holding the hammer, but who knows? That's just what I've seen from Khabib. It's kind of one of those things that until somebody gives us the answer of like how to beat that guy, I just predict him to keep doing what he's always done.
And he trains a lot with DC as well, so
and Grizzly Bears. But even DC said the strongest person he's ever grappled with is Khabib, and DC outweighs him by like 80 pounds. So for somebody that much bigger to say the strongest person I've ever gone against is this guy who is the size of like my child. I mean, that says a lot about Khabib.
Yeah. And then in other news, I don't know if you've heard, they're doing this kind of cross promotion thing with Bellator versus Ryzen Fight Federation. I haven't heard of them, but I believe they're like this fight promotion from Japan, which I think is pretty cool because I've always wanted to see kind of an integration with UFC versus Bellator. So this might open the door for it. So I think the way it's happening is they're getting 3 of their best fighters from 3 different weight classes, and the others are having the same, and then they're gonna kind of combine and have like super fight. Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. I think Ryzen is bigger than the UFC is in Japan specifically.
Okay,
So that'll be good. It's always good to have some other organizations out there.
Dude, don't quote me on this, but I like watching Bellator fights. Like it's crazy because like there's
Did you hear that, Dana White?
Yeah, sorry Dana. But the amount of knockouts you see is unbelievable. Knockouts, submissions, those guys are very talented. I mean, I don't know if it's because I don't know, it's just fast paced.
Yeah, part of that's probably also that their steroid testing is a little loose.
Yeah,
So.
that makes sense.
But also we got UFC Fight Night is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
So headliner, we got Michelle Watterson, the Karate Hottie,
Yep.
versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then also co-main event, we got Cub Swanson versus Kron Gracie, who you and I are both big fans
Yeah,
of.
very excited about that one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the jiu-jitsu practitioners out there are very excited to see the son of one of the elite jiu-jitsu people go ahead and represent the sport.
The guy.
The guy, the guy. Go ahead and represent the sport. So I'm definitely excited to see what will happen there.
I think the game plan, if you're fighting Kron Gracie, is like, do not let the fight go to the ground.
Yeah.
If the fight goes to the ground,
strike.
like, it is over.
Yeah.
We're pretty sure. If you go to the ground and you survive against Kron Gracie, then it's unlikely.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michelle
You
Watterson.
think Hickson will be there?
I wouldn't doubt it. I didn't see him at the last fight,
Yeah, he
actually.
wasn't I don't think he was.
Saw
there.
Nate Diaz in his corner.
Yeah, they're training partners.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a good one.
But yeah, headliner Michelle Watterson and Joanna. I think even though neither one of them is ranked like number one contender, I think that this is basically kind of for the number one contender spot. I think whoever wins this is probably going to be in line for the title shot. Michelle Watterson has that whole mom champ campaign. She's a mom and she wants to see if she can be the first ever mother who also becomes a champion.
You know who's jumping on that boat too now, right? Mackenzie Dern. She just had her baby and she's trying to jump on that same boat as well.
Okay.
Yeah, they had because she's also fighting on that same fight card.
Oh really? So yeah, whoever gets the title first wins.
That'll be the mommy belt or something.
Yeah,
like,
but it'll be interesting to see Watterson versus Joanna. I think they're both strikers.
Yeah.
Well, I think Joanna's a little more like devastating with her punches than Michelle is, but Michelle's throws a little more at you. She's got a lot of different. She attacks at weird angles. She's got like different kicks she throws, different punches she throws. So
let's hope Joanna makes the weight.
That's true. She's always struggled to hit that weight. So it's a little tough for her. But yeah, looking forward to it. And guys, we want you to click click subscribe. We're going to be coming at you weekly, no promises, with new content. And yeah.
More news to come.